nigga high as a motherfucker, by the way. Let me go fast forward. I am the nigga, Young Dog. This high ass nigga.
They don't dance no more. It's all about the lean. Back in the day, crack was jumping on the scene. Now they slumped on the sidewalk. Can't talk. Golden era baby, but we still feel the rock. They used to be kings, now they lost in the scheme. Popping them bottles, throwing money, living dreams. Now they zoned out and mumbling, fumbling. No rhythm in the city, the whole shit crumbling. They used to rock the house, they was riding through the streets. Remember there was dancing, sliding to the beat. Now it's poison in their veins, ain't no pulse on the street. Guess it's over now, they accepted defeat. Back in the day, the rock had a violent freak. Different story now, they got no energy. New drugs got them slow with the hit unload. Out close and they don't dance no more. Block used to be jumping, type shit they was on. Now it's lights out, guess the thrill is gone.
I am the nigga, Young Dog. I bring it to your rough, rugged, and raw, nigga.
They don't dance no more, it's all about the codeine. Back in the day, they was rocking on the scene. Even dancing in the rain. Now they nodding off. Shit just don't hit the same.
I am that nigga, Young Dog. And just like that, I lost my camera here. Let me get the camera back in here. What? The camera is out. Let me see if I can plug back in here again. Did I catch it this time? What? Did I get my camera on? Give me a minute, guys. Where is my camera here? What happened to my camera? And just like that, what in the hell is going on here? Let me see if I can get it right. Just like that, I lost my fucking camera. There it is. There it is. All right, cool. All right, perfect. That's perfect. You know, I found it kind of interesting watching the reactions of the jury, the people responding to the Puffy verdicts. It's all rather curious. If you paid any attention to the Puffy trial, this is not a guy that you would want to celebrate. But yet here we are, and the blacks were really out celebrating his verdict. And it just led me to think, well, what the hell are they celebrating? What have they won here? And so I'm curious to know what the audience thinks. And, you know, I'll be polling the audience to see what you guys think about this Puffy verdict. If you're happy about it, I'm curious to know as to why. If you're not happy about it, well, then you can say why as well. Or if you're ambivalent, you don't care one way or the other, you can say that as well. But one of the things I found interesting is that, you know, you hear a lot of talk about how women typically are kind of in it together and stuff like that. And Puffy really did some terrible things to those women, regardless of how you look at it. You can say, well, they were complicit, they were cool with it. But at some point, you'd have to say, why would a man want to have random men pissing on a woman? Why, even if she wanted it to the point, you know, just, you know, to have multiple men pissing on her, it's just something rather interesting about that. And I don't think many women, many black women in particular, have engaged in that kind of behavior. But somehow they seemingly were okay with it when Puffy was engaged in that behavior. And I found that interesting. And part of the reason why I think that is because his behavior toward the women was not directed at black women. And that is why you see many of the black women celebrating, because it's kind of a one-uppers on them. You look at some of the street interviews we did the other night, particularly the ones with the black woman. She talked about how depressed she was, how she didn't have any dating prospects, no marriage prospects. She was 32 years old. And yet Cassie found herself in the limelight of living with Puffy and all the other women. None of those women look like them, the dark-skinned black women. And so it's almost as if you can't beat them, then hell, you can pounce on them and pound on them like Puffy. It's almost like they got a pound of flesh themselves. Every punch or kick that Puffy inflicted on Cassie or Gina or the Jane Doe, it was as if the black women, the ones that have been downtrodden the most, were getting their licks in it as well. And that's kind of one of the ways I took it. You look at some of the dancing, the baby oil. things like that. And it's a very peculiar behavior about the blacks and how they responded to that. Again, they were happy, seemingly. Now, as it relates to the justice system, I think that blacks have been fighting the justice on one hand, while living the government on one hand, while living off of the government on the other. I recently profiled how Biggie and not Biggie, I'm sorry, but 50 Cent and Puffy and all those guys rather, have been heavy in lobbying Congress members to help them with their alcohol and liquor businesses and licensing deals. They want to get minority help and things like that. So on one hand, the blacks are fed by the government, and on the other hand, they feel like they're being attacked or targeted by the government. So this was their chance of winning one against the big man, the government here, and that's why I think the blacks are also on Puffy's side. And one of the other more particular things, and I think this is why Puffy was able to get off. Typically, you would see a RICO being formed for someone who has some goal to make money. That's typically what it's going to be about. You say, hey, I'm in the trash collecting business. I'm going to extort you to get you to pay more money for me to pick up your trash and not choose a cheaper competitor. Typically, that's what we've seen in RICO type, or someone overcharging the government for hospital services, things like that. Those are your typical RICO cases. In those cases, excuse me, give me 1 minute, typically involve multiple people. And it typically involves multiple people because you need multiple people to pull it off. 1 second. You need multiple people to pull it off to achieve your goal of making money. In Puffy's case, which is very interesting, which is the blacks are really creating situations where you can't really apply the rules that you could apply to, say, white people because they're not acting normally. Or as you would write a bill, a RICO bill that would target people that are acting typically in the pursuit of profit, and they're going to behave in a certain way that would make the indictment stick or the convictions much easier to do. But in this case, what you found is some very, very black behavior, very black behavior. What you found is that a black man engaged in a RICO all to himself for sex. It's literally, if you go back and read some of the transcripts, watch the people that followed the trial. All of his RICO was not about making money. That's what's very interesting about the blacks. His RICO was strictly about sex. And again, what is most interesting, and I'm going to share some of the things about what he did. One of the things is interesting, is very interesting that the blacks are in the favor of Puffy, and I'm going to see if I can share this with you. Here's one of the things that Puffy did, and this came out in the court. Cassie Ventura's mother, what was it? Let's see if this is it. This should be it right here. And let me see if I can find it here. And here's something very interesting. I'm going to go to this Puffy article shortly, but take a look at this. I know it's here somewhere. I should have had this pulled up. Let's see. Here it is right here. Let's see. One of the things that Cassie Ventura's, what came out in the trial, is that Cassie's mother had to borrow money to pay off a loan to Puffy. It was $30,000 if I'm not mistaken there. Basically, he had extorted her and said, hey, I need you to send me $30,000 for the money that I've spent on your daughter or else. And Cassie's mother went and took out a home equity line of credit. Here it is right here, the Art of Dialogue. During her testimony, Cassie's mother, Regina Ventura, revealed that she took out a home equity loan, $30,000 to pay Diddy, with $20,000, which he allegedly demanded for a sex tape of Cassie after finding out she was dating Kid Cudi. She later testified that she wired the money to Diddy and it was returned to her account within 4 or 5 days. And this is the kind of behavior that the blacks are out here celebrating. And so I thought it'd be interesting to go back in a little bit in time. We did this the other day, and here's Diddy on Revolt TV. And, he's, this is probably 2020, and he's talking about all the black stuff, this big black talk. And this was right in the middle of his freak off behavior here. And this is one of the things you find interesting about blacks is that he's right in the midst of this is freak off behavior here. Let me see exactly when the date is. And they can talk about 2021, and they can talk all this high-minded black political party. And he had no blacks working for him. To his credit, at least none of those blacks were caught up in his RICO. But the most highly paid woman on his staff was a white woman. That's fine. No problem with that. But he talks his black liberation, black political power, black this and that. And then just take a listen here.
The tribe of people that have the responsibility and really should be scared to death of this man is white people.
Explain.
If this man is elected, we're not standing by no more getting killed. We're not scared of anybody standing up and standing by. We're on the verge of a race war. If people in America want a race war, they'll not vote. I'm an independent, first of all. When I vote, I try to do what's best for my community.
Let's be clear on that. You're not standing behind your.
And remember, this nigga said, I try to do what's best for my community. He's never opened up a store, a business, no grocery stores, no nothing. These blacks have done nothing. Yet the blacks that are out here jumping up and down for him, why? What explains it? I'm curious to know if you put your answer in the chat. Why are the blacks supporting him? United says some are happy, some of them are very happy indeed. And why is that? I'm very curious. Why are they so happy about a man who clearly mistreats women? Clearly has some homosexual-like tendencies. Blacks don't tend to be very LGBT friendly. Why are they so friendly and happy for this guy? It's very interesting here. I'm going to take it off the screen here. I won't get copyrighted, but we'll let it play some more.
Decision to hold your vote anymore. You want people to go out there and vote.
It would be irresponsible of me to have us hold our vote hostage. But it would also be irresponsible of me to just let this moment go by. The world is watching, and not do everything I can to make sure that going forth that we're a part of the narrative, that we own our politics. And so I'm launching one of the boldest movements that I've ever launched. And it's called Our Black Party.
Okay.
It's time for us to have our own black political party, unapologetically. Because right now, if you look at the debates, we're not even a part of the conversation.
Not at all.
We're not a part of the conversation. We don't have any political power. We don't have any political leverage. And so we started our.
So he said he started what? Our Black Political Party? Let's look that up. Let's look it up. Our Black Political Party. See, these blacks, they start in the sky and work their way backwards. Our Black Political Party. And you'll see that, they don't build anything. They just, they started working backwards. We're going to start at the top with political power, then we're going to build up our neighborhoods. It doesn't work that way. No one's letting these blacks take over anything if they can't show that they can manage their own neighborhoods. And here's the Our Black Political Party. They haven't tweeted since 2022. Our Black Party prioritizes the issues that matter most to black people based on the actual needs of our community, people over party. I learned that racism, blah, blah, blah. This is the Black Lives Matter, ladies. So you can see this is all very political. This guy was basically a Democrat warrior, and the Democrats turned on him. And he has quotes from her, Alice Garza. This is the Black Lives Matter lady. And on it goes. But again, another party defunct. They build nothing. Shallow political movements that last for a season here.
Black Party with some young, fearless black activists, elected officials, and I've stepped up and put the money behind it. This is the biggest threat and the only option that we have right now as far as making a change, taking our own self-responsibility and accountability to be educated and empowered with our vote.
See, for blacks, the only answers they know is voting and education. So they respond in kind, hey, we need to be more educated. Hey, we need to be more empowered. We need more political power, but they can't build anything. He invests his money in that. He never built a grocery store for these same blacks that live in food deserts. Again, it's kind of like building from the ground, from the sky high, from the sky up, or from the sky down, right? It just doesn't make a lot of sense how the blacks behave here.
So what's the goal for our Black Party?
Our Black Party's number one goal is to unify behind a Black agenda. That's it. You could be a part of the Democratic Party, the Republican Party, you could be an independent, but if you Black, you wasn't born Republican, you wasn't born Democrat, you wasn't born independent, you was born Black. And we have to seize our political power because it'll just be more the same, being pushed this way, being pushed that way, and we expecting
a different result.
As I was thinking about, I was just thinking about just the over-sexualized stereotype of blacks. You know how they are considered to be very over-sexualized and stuff like that. And he really represents it to a T, right? Like this was an over-sexualized black man. It had the world at his oyster, and he engaged in sex all day long. That's what he did. No one can deny that. He would spend days on end having sex, right? Not running a business. He left that to the white people. He just sat around and had sex all day. And so, it's just interesting. He's talking about building up the black community and stuff like this.
The definition of insanity is like doing the same thing over and over the same way, expecting a different result, and it's not going to happen. So we have to change the tone. We got to start with us stepping up and really taking the responsibility and accountability to be a part of this political movement.
The hardest part of that is going to be getting other black people to buy into it.
This is not for all black people. You know what I'm saying? This is not for the scary ones. This is for the maritime. It's so confusing for the game, the evolution of that thought, of that empowerment, of that.
And that's enough of Puffy. And we're going to look at some of the tweets. Here's something I found interesting. Aiden Ross says he will get the first interview with Puffy. And I find that very interesting. Aiden Ross, the blacks have cheered, and I think there was at least four black jurors on the stream. He talks about all this black power, black this, black that, and the first stop he's going to make apparently will be Aiden Ross here. So it'd be an interesting interview to see. Aiden Ross said, me and Eddie already talked about it. We would get that stream first. Aiden says he would be the first person to get the Diddy stream once he's free. Here's the guy saying love Allen tweets and seeing niggas celebrate Diddy beating the case here. Let's see, what is this about here? Is that a video? Is this a video? Oh, here's the video here. I hope this nigga ain't gonna use this shit. Let's see. I don't know what he's playing here. What is he saying here? What black people offer to society? Anyway, so there's some of the people questioning the Diddy case. Some people saying, how did he beat the case? He was charged for prostitution. Again, those are very minor cases relative to what he was charged with. I think he'd take the prostitution case all day long here. See if there are any other, something I posted here about Diddy. Some of the responses from Diddy. It's Atlanta condo residents. And see, where is that post here? They've been my favorites here. And there was one guy, his name's Armand, and he was extremely excited about Diddy. And here's Angela Stanton King. She's related to Martin Luther King.
About this Diddy situation. Y'all will not see it. Listen, now one thing I have not done, I have not ran my mouth about this Diddy situation. Y'all will not see Auntie Angie speaking on this Diddy situation. I'm gonna tell you, that went on for a very long time, and a lot of people were aware of it, and a lot of people knew about it, and all of these people were participating. And I don't want to victim blame or anything like that, but I'm just saying if y'all was cool with it at one time and then all of a sudden, you know, you coming against it as if you wasn't a willing participant, then that's not something that I agree is right. And I don't support tearing down black men unless they deserve it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't know exactly what she's saying there. She's kind of waffling here. And here's some more responses to it. I think I don't really know what the hell she's saying. But they can't condemn the behavior there. It's something very difficult. Here's Tariq Nasheed. Again, he says, I told people the only thing they were going to get Diddy on was the prostitution charges. I said they were not going to get him on racketeering because this wasn't a racketeering case at all. See, this, and, you know, again, our mind has been set on racketeering with the mob, multiple people, extorting businesses, things like that. Never for no personal gain. He's just doing it for sex. It's hard to rewire your mind to think of John Gotti doing it straight for sex and then convict someone for that. It's a great thing that they didn't get Diddy on the more serious charges because this was a money grab. They would have been able to go after all of his assets if he was convicted on the racketeering. You know, the thing is, you know, again, they overlook some of the testimony, and blacks probably don't pay attention anyway. That he was accused, and it came out in court, that he held that woman against her will while she healed. I think he called in plastic surgeons, makeup artists to cover up bruises that he had beat the woman. You can see the outrageous behavior of him in that hotel in LA, and yet and still the blacks see this as a win, and that, well, he was only charged with prostitution there. Again, it's very interesting behavior from, you know, a race of people. This would be the equivalent of the white people being happy that the police beat the Rodney King case or something equivalent. I'm not quite sure. Or even Kyle Rittenhouse. I didn't see many whites responding gleefully, shooting AK-47s in the air or AR-15s, the way that the blacks were walling themselves up with baby oil there. And so this old dirty cracker, he says, funny how hard black guys try to downplay prostitution charges. The jury was hoping that they could show the Cassie video and leverage black male demonization to just convict them on whatever they wanted. There were 8 men on this jury, mostly white, who just didn't fall for it. Sometimes the system just wants to whoop your ass in public. Again, but Puffy put himself squarely in line for this. And, you know, I'm jumping off topic here, but I'm going to share something with you. This is very interesting here. You take a look at this. You know, blacks always talk about the record industry. You know, it's predatory on us. It's very predatory on us. And I want you to pay attention to what you see on the screen. I'm going to maximize it here. I want you to pay attention to this. Cassie's 10-album record deal with Diddy meant he financially controlled her life for years, she testified. You think about that. He signed that woman to a 10-year record deal. And so the next question you may ask yourself is, well, what is the typical record deal for a performer? And here's the typical record deal. Let me look it up here. Well, it may even tell you in the article here. Let's see if it says this. She only released one album the whole time and vetoed other job opportunities. Prosecutors allege she used the resources of his businesses for sex trafficking while Ventura was in a decade-long relationship, criminal trafficking. The freak-offs became my job. She recorded hundreds of songs, of which only one album was released. They didn't see the light of day. Only a handful of her songs were officially released there. And so let me see if I can show you. The typical record deal for an artist is typically 1 to 3 albums. Typical record deal artist. And you'll see that here, the typical record deal can vary widely, but generally involves an advance payment from the label. And let's see if we can see the the term of record deals, usually about three initial fixed period, often around 12 months there. And as you can see, he signed her to a 10-year deal, which is effectively her lifetime there. And so that is that's kind of some of the predatory behavior that Puffy was engaging in that allowed him to take advantage of that young lady and have her doing things that she probably wouldn't have done otherwise. And so whenever the blacks talk about the predatory nature of the music business, you can always lean back on them and say, well, who is sitting between the artists and the record companies that they say are taking advantage of them? And it's typically some black record label. So here are some more pictures from the freak-off activities outside of the Puffy's Courthouse trial. New York niggas, I cheer, pouring baby oil on each other over Diddy's win. New York, what's up? Y'all got that much pride in Diddy. And here I think this is Armand, and this is as you can see, it's primarily black women. Now these black women, presumably they would have heard some of the testimony if they were following it this closely. Otherwise, they were just idolizing Puffy. But I think they were following this case, and they didn't see anything wrong that he had done, other than maybe some prostitution. Normalized knowing just because they are melanated doesn't mean they are all foundational black Americans, immigrants. They'll celebrate a chicken crossing the road if it doesn't become a Popeye's chicken sandwich first. Just look at the women there. Look at how she's dressed. She has underwear on. It's rather interesting behavior from these people here. Very, 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 very interesting behavior from these people. Freak off nation, that's Crackhead Barney. Some monkey shit going on. His name is Armand Wiggins. He has been Team Cassie. He was Team Cassie. They're saying that oil is part of his commentary. And I guess he's doing some kind of skit with the baby on him.
Let me oil up because I need to oil up too. I'm over here ashy as cold as hell water tonight and see what that do. Look like this, you need more oil. Okay, this tap we have my notebook, but I hope you got
all right. This is Armand Wiggins. Tariq Nasheed, he's wondering, have you noticed that most people upset about the Diddy not guilty verdict are alt-rights and tethers? Well, who's most excited about it and why? That would be a question. Why are the blacks most excited about it? Black FBA are the most lost and backwards clowns in the world. Everything negative a black person does, they blame on black immigrants. Shut the fuck up, you dumb, embarrassing clowns. Those are all Caribbeans and African tethers. So now the blacks are trying to separate who are the ones that are celebrating Puffy. No morals or respect. It is very interesting. It is very interesting. The black response to this, they see this as kind of a win over the government of sort here. And here's
it's Armand. You do need to grow up a little bit. You need to grow up a lot of bit. And I think once he grows up a little bit and matures, I think that the universe is definitely going to open up and give him all the things that he deserves.
Why do you think he needs to grow up? In what aspect have you seen that make you say that?
Just from like an older person once being young. You know what I'm saying? It's not one particular thing or another. It's just there's just a small.
Yeah. And on it goes. We're gonna cover some of these other things here I have in the stream here, but I do want to get to this before I get there. Oh wow, I gotta cover that. Oh, Wendy Williams looks good these days. I gotta cover that at some point. But there's one more Puffy thing I wanted to share with you before we move on from Puffy, and I'm just really curious to know about people in the audience. What do you think? What explains this whole Puffy thing here before we move on from Puffy? Curious to know from the audience, what explains the black fascination with Puffy, and why are they so enthralled that Puffy was able to beat the system? Is it the system itself, or is it kind of some get back into how they have mistreated, or how he was able to mistreat non-black women and get away with it? This is kind of their get back. Is this kind of their get back to being mistreated in the larger world? And as an example of what I mean here, blacks experience this kind of thing all day, every day. And this is loading here. And this is Anton Daniels highlighting some. This is kind of the black experience for a lot of black women. They'll never be in Cassie's position to get pissed on. So in some ways they say, hey, if we're miserable, then let her be miserable too. And let her not be some kind of victim when we're living out lives where people are victimizing us and nobody's showing any sympathy here. So take a listen.
Yeah, y'all, I'm trying to figure out why I'm in the middle of Miami. Literally at what time?
It's 12:44.
At 12:44, we go to a club called Mona. Do you know this club told me I'm too dark and too thick? Didn't let her in because she's too thick. Dark?
Bitches have audacity.
What's really going on, Miami? All too dark to get in the club? Yeah, no. Somebody need to let me know what's going on in Miami. Seriously.
Let me rewind this. I just want to see this one more time because I want to see her homegirls too. Because she showed herself, and that kind of, said a lot to me in particular. But I just want to see it again.
Yeah, y'all. I'm trying to figure out why I'm in the middle of Miami. Literally at what time?
It's 12:44.
At 12:44, we go to a club called Mona. Do you know?
Now let me show you what kind of women are in Mona. This is from Mona's Instagram right here. These are the type of women in Mona. These are the women in Mona. Those are the men in Mona. This is what Mona looks like. These are some of the men, the rappers, the artists in Mona. Some of the women that probably work there. The men, they had no problem with dark-skinned men. But the women, got to be on point. Got to be on point to work there. Got to be on point. And these sister gals, these big fat black sister gals, not on point.
This club told me I'm too dark and too thick.
Yeah.
This is gonna be like because I'm a different person. You know what I'm saying? I'm much nicer now, and I don't know how to have this conversation in truth and still make sure that we're communicating effectively. And I think that the biggest thing is that even if you look at her homegirl in the background, check it out.
Didn't let her in.
So is her homegirl too dark also? I don't think that that's what it is, honestly. I don't think it has anything to do with color. And again, we only getting one side of the story, so it's easy to draw a conclusion just based off of what somebody says. But I don't believe that we're getting the whole story. I believe that the whole story is that there has to be a certain aesthetic. We're going to use our words. We're going to move past room 9 over into high school, college level communication right now, very carefully. I don't think it has anything to do with it. I think it has everything to do with your aesthetic. I think it has everything to do with your aura, your vibe. And if anybody has ever been to Miami or lived in Miami.
I mean, listen, it ain't just Miami, bro. It's LA. It's any major city, bro. They pick and choose the best looking women to go into the club. It's been happening for eons. These are the women they want in their club. These are the women that make men buy drinks. Understand? That's the business. If you don't know the business, I can't help you. And Miami is a city that just does not cater to blacks. And there are many cities that, just don't cater to blacks. I mean, one could reasonably say New York City doesn't really cater to blacks. There are a lot of blacks there. But they're in small pockets, right? And nothing's really catering to them. You can say the same thing in New York City, Miami, LA again, about the blacks. And again, I think this feeds into why the blacks are so behind Puffy. They saw Puffy mistreat women like this. Yeah. They saw Puffy mistreat women like this. He wasn't pissing and spitting on big black fat ass women. He was pissing on their enemies, the Cassies of the world. I did a street interview the other night, and there was a black woman out with an Afro-Latino. And the Afro-Latina was criticizing white passing Latinas, and the black girl couldn't hold it in. She said, I got to include them Dominicans too. Because Dominicans, you know, in sexual competition with the black woman's second or third fiddle. She knows that. And so she had to speak on them Dominicans. All of these foreign, or as the black men like to call them, exotic, are the women of Puffy's desire. Successful black men of all shades desire this. They do not want the blacks in their clubs. And so every now and then the blacks get to exact some revenge on the justice system and larger society at large by rendering a verdict or whipping some light-skinned girl's ass or something to that effect. And this is, in my case, in my opinion, why I think the blacks are so desirous, are so happy that Puffy was able to beat the case. They know how he mistreated that woman, those women. And somehow they are seemingly okay with that behavior because he didn't do it to them. It wasn't done to them. They've been so mistreated, they're just happy to see someone else being mistreated. And I think that is more or less what partially explains the black response to the Puffy trial there. I'm curious to know what you guys think. And, you know, all throughout, you know, I'll see things and I say, why in the hell? I even did a video stream. Like, why would blacks behave these ways? And you're like, look at this. And you ask yourself, well, why would a black person do that? At every turn, they're trying to throw, like, you know, a monkey wrench in things. They're trying to gum everything up just to be an inconvenience. They can't go through life exacting any kind of revenge in a competitive way with whites. They just have to inconvenience them. And this is what you see here. If you walk up under her legs, she's going to say something to you. If you jump over her, she's going to say something to you. If you so much as touch her, she's going to say something to you. She's more or less provoking these people. And that is more or less where blacks, and a lot of blacks find themselves today, is they're more or less provocations. They're looking to provoke a white person so that their life can be deemed valuable there. And in this case of the Puffy and Cassie case, it was the ultimate fuck you to the justice system, putting the thumb in the eye of the victims, the people who said that they were victims. They more or less said, hey, you just whores. This man did nothing wrong except for paying for you whores. And it very well could be true. But their behavior after the case says a little bit more to me. That there was some bloodlust there. The blacks are wanting revenge here. And they're getting every chance they can get when they go against the white system, the way things are set up for whites here. Here's another article here. I tell you, everywhere they go here is the DMV. And again, just imagine a group of people like this behaving like this. Can't behave anywhere. And so the only thing they can do now is celebrate bad behavior, and that is kind of what they're doing here with Puffy. Just
whoop her ass. We feel like no thing. Come on, my kids are
There's a fucking baby up in the air screaming at the top of his lungs there. Screaming at the top of his lungs. And this is at the DMV. This is at the DMV here. Everywhere they go, they're creating real serious problems for themselves, other people, and the list goes on and on and on. People saying it's always black people. So again, they destroy everywhere they go, and now they are seeping into the justice system. This is the second large case here where you've seen these type of things happen. You saw in the YSL case where, again, rap music, murder, mayhem, allegations of prosecutors sleeping with some of the rap artists and things like that. But how do you prosecute a RICO when blacks are more or less wrapping up what they do, wrapping everything they do on a normal basis into their businesses, which is partly crap. Anyway, so it's a very interesting proposition there with the blacks here, and it's kind of interesting to seeing how they're responding to this Puffy trial here. Coming out of Chicago here, here's something very interesting. As a crime scene, 4 people killed, 14 wounded outside of this club. They were having a party for someone, some rapper, Cal Meza here. It's this is why people don't want them around. This is why people don't want them around. This is why people don't, bloody Air Force One there. And this is why people don't want them around here. And they can't run away from that. And they somehow find ways to excuse this type of behavior. And again, you look at how they responded to the Puffy trial, and it just all makes sense why no one would want them around here. Yesterday, we were talking about Magic Johnson. And it kind of plays along the lines of Puffy. Magic Johnson got his comeuppance with AIDS. Puffy got his comeuppance with the way he was behaving. And if you look here at Magic Johnson and you think about what Donald Sterling said about him, here's Magic Johnson. And the niggers always got music playing, of course. This is Magic Johnson. And you always get the fucking music, fucking niggers. Anyway, that's Magic Johnson for his birthday here, celebrating his birthday on his yacht somewhere in the Turks and Caicos, maybe Italy. I think he goes to Italy somewhere for his birthday there. The man hasn't built one fucking grocery store yet. Not one grocery store, not even a bodega. And this is what Donald Sterling said. What the hell has Magic Johnson done? Our people help build things for our people. But the black superstars, the billionaires, they really don't build anything. These are just like old man children. Celebrating their birthdays long in the tooth in their 60s, 70s. This is how they celebrate birthdays. Far away from the blacks they scream to love so much, the ones that have cheered them on in basketball and other exploits. This is Magic Johnson on his birthday here. And it just shows you kind of the mindset of the blacks here. And here's more of the freak off shit and fight some on blacks here. Those of you that may not remember, in Chicago, there was a housing project that launched Obama to fame here. It's called Oakdale Gardens. And there was a mass shooting there. What launched Obama to fame was a young boy who was killed by tire tracks. And he was killed, he was a resident of Oakdale Gardens. I can't remember the guy's name there. Matter of fact, I'll look it up. And here is, the guy's name was Obama Oakdale Gardens. And here's the article here. Oakdale Gardens, how a Chicago housing project reveals an unmet challenge. And that was Obama, where he was first started out as a community organizer there in the Oakdale Gardens. And the Oakdale Gardens, as you can clearly see, there's still in a lot of trouble there. And so here is, give me 1 second. 1 second here. And here is Oakdale Gardens here. Mass shooting, big crime scene over 133rd and Langley. 4 guys shot. Looks like multiple shooters in from different areas. Here is the reporting here. And you look at how nasty the blacks live. Look at all the trash on the ground. That's not related to the shooting. That's just related to how they live there. Very interesting. Yeah, I'm sharing the tab here.
We're still on 133rd and Langley. Suspects News 4 in critical condition. Mass shooting here. There's three
Hey, look at
basic
that
scenes.
around there.
This looks like where they were sitting. There's some shooting that happened from over there, and
Back
there's
in
some
the
shooting that happened over
shooting
there.
there.
Okay? So that's where we're at. That's pretty.
That's where we're at, and that's All-Girl Gardens, where Obama got his start as a community organizer there, and the neighborhood still has not improved, nor has he built his library yet. 20 years later, still in the waiting there for his library to be built there. Obama. Coming out of DC, I did a stream about this. This young man, and I'm going to Google his name, and you've seen me in this location on the stream here. Let me pull this up. Give me 1 second. Let me pull this up. This happened Monday night here in Washington, D.C. I did a quick stream about this, and you can hear it here.
All right, let's get to some developing details about a deadly shooting that happened earlier this week in the district.
A congressional intern was killed in that shooting and 2 others were hurt. Fox 5's Melanie Olick is live for us this morning in Northwest with the latest on this investigation. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, guys. So we're here right out in front of one of the entrances.
Hey, you know what's so interesting about this scene is a few years ago I was reading an article, and I think Cardi B kind of exposed it too, is that the bottle girls were making more than, say, the strippers in New York. And the bottle girls were mostly Latinas, Dominicans, and the strippers were black, and the black strippers were up there shaking their ass, getting naked, and the bottle girls, the Latinas, the Cardi B's of the world, were making all the money there. And so that was kind of interesting turn of event. That, you know, the pretty girl always wins. She doesn't always have to take off her clothes. Yeah, there is a big difference between the culture of black and white operated strip clubs. I have a tenant that works at a white operated strip club here. It's very, very different. Very, very different. And she's a white lady here. The men don't see a problem with his behavior because they would do the same if they could. You know, I think a lot of black men would, in terms of Puffy. And I'm assuming you're talking about Puffy here. And the reason why I say they would, and I've been a landlord, and I have a clip up on the stream. You guys can listen to it. I could probably count on both hands how many times I've had people that come here, work for me, stuff like that, and they try to sleep with my tenants. And I tell them explicitly, don't do that, bro. You give me in a world of trouble. For one night of fun for yourself, you give me in a world of trouble. And I've never done it, and because I know the consequences of it. And see, Puffy was doing just the opposite. Now, I know he's a billionaire. People are going to say, well, John Galt, you're not a billionaire. But the point still remains. You can't sleep with the help, right? You just can't do that. And if you're going to do that, then you need to build that help up where they no longer need your help anymore. Otherwise, you're more or less enslaving them. And that is what Puffy did. He slept with the help. Okay, he's going to do that. That's one thing. But then to enslave the help, that would be the equivalent of me still collecting maximum rent while sleeping with the woman, laying up in her house. That doesn't work, right? Sooner or later, she's going to bulk and paying me full freight for the rent and sleeping with me. Right? You have to acknowledge that there are trade-offs, and Puffy wanted to make the trade-off where everything overwhelmingly went in his favor. And so I think from the standpoint of many black men that have never built anything. And when I say never built anything, I mean they've never even built a person up. Right? And so their mindset is take. I'm going to get as much out of her and give as little as I can. And I guarantee you that's the example that the mindset that Puffy took. Because again, why would he sign her to a 10-year deal to take her whole life away from her? I once had a guy, I've told this story on the stream before. He was a tenant of mine. And he would be in and out of the house. He'd stay a couple nights with a woman, stay a couple nights in the room that he rented for me. And he started staying at home more regularly. So I said, hey, man, why you not at your girl? He said, man, she asked me for like $50 on the light bill. I said, damn, you out there all the time. Why don't you pitch in? He said, shit, no. I'm not helping her with anything. And that kind of sums up the relationship, the way that blacks and whites oftentimes enter into relationships. It's, they're both trying to get the maximum amount out of each other without giving anything. And it's a taker's relationship there. And so that's kind of what you're seeing there. Hey, yo, guys. My PC died, so I'm going to have to end the stream here. Sorry about that. I'll log back on later.
If you know somebody who drive a truck